What's up, guys? It's Jim with Awaken TCG, bringing you guys another locals video this week. This week we have a very special leader that you guys pretty much unanimously voted for. We did take an extra week to make this because we both could not make locals last Thursday, but this Thursday we could. And actually, neither me nor Wraith played it. We have a guy at Locals that plays a lot of Ivankov, so we had him play and record the games for us. And that is Colin. Colin, say hi.
Hello, hello.
And he is here to explain his deck list that he went 4-0, undefeated this week. Really good games from what I've heard, and I can't wait to get into them. But obviously our leader today is going to be Ivankov, and let's just get right into the list.
I mean, we can just start off with good old Newkama land, just a 2 of Newkama land. I was running 4 earlier, like a couple weeks ago, but just causes a problem late game when you're rolling, like basically discarding your whole hand to like a stage that you already played, and then you end up drawing 2 stages, and you're like, okay, well, I'm screwed here. There's nothing I can do. It's just a free draw 1, trash 1 every turn regardless. Just a really good stage. It kind of makes the deck run. And then we got 4 buggies. This is just your impel down searcher. That's literally all it is. Just search top 5 for a blue impel down. Searches out all your main targets like Ivankov, 7-drop Ivankov, 6-drop Inazuma, any of your most of your 2Ks, stuff like that. You can search out stage. And then this is a little option that I finally added thanks to Jim. Jim, in a little bit of convincing from some other people, is 4 Peronas. Reason I decided to run them was I wasn't running 4 stages anymore, and I was like, it's not a bad idea to run these. Like, it gets you 1 less card in hand, and then you can rearrange your top 5 or just put your top 5 to the bottom. So it's a solid option. I think Jim was like the main.
Yeah, I mean, it increases consistency with leader effect because you know the 2 cards you're drawing at the end of the turn if it's the last card you play, or even off Newkama land, you can basically search any card if you play it first before Newkama land, right? So I just think it makes a lot of sense in this deck. It's also cheap, which, you know, getting cards out of hand is pretty big, right? Because you want to go down to 0.
Yeah, I was anti it for a long time because I was just like, I didn't think the deck needed it, but I mean, it has made it a lot more consistent in certain scenarios. And then just the next we have is 2K galore. It's just 4 Kayas. Kaya's a really strong blue 2K. It allows you to go -1 in hand because you can play it and cycle 2 cards, let you dig. It's just an overall strong 2K. Like, there's not much to really talk about. It's probably one of Blue's best 2Ks. Then you got 4 Bond Clays. All it is a searchable 2K and a possible target off the 7-drop Ivankov. Usually you're never playing this off 7-drop Ivankov, but it is searchable off Buggy, so that's why we run it. And then another 4 2K Prince Ballet that came out in EB. This is one of the only 2 editions that came out during EB. It is a terrible 2K. Like, you're never playing this on the board at all, period. But it is a impel down character, which means you can search it off Buggy. And then to round out my list, because I like 14 2Ks, it's just 2 Gion. You can interchange this with whatever. You could do Sasaki, you could do, God, I'm forgetting Garp. You can do Garp, which lets you draw 2, bottom 2. They're both solid options. I'm just a Nami player, and I play versus Namis a lot, and they always hit the nuts on me, so I just added these as tech options as my 2 extra 2Ks. And I mean, they work wonderfully against Nami because you play them down on 4, and then anytime she uses an event on her turn, well, the first time she uses an event on her turn, she bottoms a card from hand, so it kind of screws her.
Fuck Nami players, we can all agree on that one.
It's payback for all the years of me playing Nami, or all the months of me playing Nami. And then we'll get into our plays now. We have 4 Doflamingo blockers. These are literally just upgraded Peronas. This is why I wasn't running 4 Peronas at a time, because we had 4 Doflamingos, and I thought that was enough. It does the exact same thing. Top 5 Burn Rager, can put it to the top, can put it to the bottom. Doesn't matter. but it allows you to dig and find the things you need instead of your turns, and it is also a blocker. It is probably one of our strongest blockers. Then we have 2 4-drop blocker Inazumas. I was running more of these, but I decided there wasn't a need for them. You can put them down with 7 cost Ivankov, but the main thing is I wanted these for the second curve, because your going second curve feels a little weird, because you're normally playing like either both these on 2 Dawn, and then you have like a Doflamingo on 3, or I guess you can play this, but like this is probably your best option if you're forced to go second, because most decks want to take you off first, because your first curve is honestly kind of terrifying. If you see the nuts, you'll probably see it in a couple of the games. It looked like I was just rolling people over. And then we just have my one of, just one pudding. The reason it's a one of and not a 2 or 3 like I normally run in my blue decks is just because this deck doesn't need it. You are tempoing out so hard most of the time that there's almost no point or no need to ever play a pudding. But it does help in certain scenarios where we're going versus an Enel or a Whitebeard. If I see it on 4 or I see it on 6, like mid game, I will just drop it and ruin their hand. It's not gonna win me the game, but it will absolutely destroy them at that given point in time. It's techable blue option, completely worth it. Now we go into our Impel Down hits. We have 4 Vanilla Crocs. These are just 5/7s. They are 5/7 Impel Down characters that you can search off Buggy, and that you can play off the 7-drop Ivankov. They are amazing in the Law matchup, because you take first from them and you drop this on 5. Law can't handle it. Law has to drop 2 Gordons or a promo Law and a Gordon to remove it, and then you follow it up with your disgusting 7 on turn, which we'll probably end up getting into. 7k is probably the bane of Law's existence.
Even 4K is really annoying to get rid of.
Yeah, because like even like this, they have to use a Gordon, or they have to use a promo Law to get rid of it, and you're like, okay, fine, that's I have more 7Ks coming. Like, you're not gonna have fun like this 7K. Ivankov. This is what makes the deck run. Inazuma, sorry. This is what makes the deck run right now. Like, the only 2 additions to EB were Principal A at 2K and this. This is disgusting with leader effect. The problem we used to have is you can discard down to 0 and then draw 2 every turn, which is strong, but you're at 2 cards in hand, which means at most you have 2k. Or if you leave Dawn up, you have an event or something like that, right? So you can't really, what's the word for it?
You can't defend very well.
You can't defend very well. So if you have a bunch of bodies, you're going to get rolled over. This allows you to get up to 4 if you're at 0 or 3 if you're at 1. So you don't even have to use leader effect, which is disgusting. If you can use stage to discard down to 0 and then draw 4 2Ks, right? And you have an Inazuma on field, it's like most decks can't keep up with you. And there's a high chance you deck out too. I've almost decked out a few times with Inazuma.
Yep, I've done the same thing on the sim before.
Then we just have 2 of Monkey D. Luffy Impel Down double attack. It's just another strong target for Inazuma. That's all I really have to say about it. There's certain situations where it can be pretty good. You can discard 2 cards from hand, and then it bounces up to 1/4 or less back to hand. Either, I think it's yours or theirs. Most of the time it's theirs. I may be wrong, don't quote me on it, I didn't read it. But then it gives it double attack, which lets you swing in and kind of pressure life in some really, really dangerous situations. One of the games I ended up winning was due to this lovely card. So running 2 of is never a bad idea. And then we have the wonderful 7/7 Ivankov, which helps make the deck run. This card is your boss monster per se. If you have just Ivankov in hand at the start of the turn, like you draw into an Ivankov, you play this, it draws up to 3 cards because it wants you to have 3 cards in hand. You draw up to 3 cards, and then you play a 6 or less Impel Down for free. So what you end up doing is you draw up to 3, and then you play this for free, you play 1 of these for free, you play 1 of this for free, you play this for free, any of that. And what could end up happening is, like, let's say you're at 1 card in hand and you play this, you draw up to 3, you draw an Inazuma, you drop Inazuma. Now you're down to 2 cards in hand because you just played Inazuma. End of the turn, you draw 2 more, and now you're up to 4. Like, it's really strong, and a lot of decks that aren't Sakazuki can't keep up with it. Saka can, of course, though, because he's got Sword and Ice Age and all that stuff, so you just gotta hope they can't remove it. And then we just have the couple events I run, 2 Red Rocks, because certain matchups can get very tough. If green drops a Kid Blocker, you don't really have a way to remove it if you're not running Red Rock. It's just 6 Dawn, remove anything. It helps with Big Moms, it helps with kids, it helps with 9 Beards. Like, it just helps you get over that hurdle where everything you're playing is 7. So you can't really, like, if I wanted to swing into something, I have to invest a lot of Dawn normally to swing into it. It's not even a guarantee. So it's better to have a couple of them. I might go up to 3, I may not go up to 3. It's a strong event, and the trigger is the bottom of 4, so it's completely solid. And then wonderful 3 Gravity Blades. Gravity Blade's disgusting. There's nothing I can say about it. It's 7 on bottom, 2 6 drops on the opponent's turn, on the opponent's board. There's not much to say about it. It's what wins you Black Yellow Luffy matchups. It's disgusting against Law. It's disgusting against a lot of decks that run 6 or lowers. And the trigger is bottom of 5. Blue is known for having some disgusting events, and these 2 events are just overall really strong. There's, again, not much to say about it besides that.
All right, and that was the full deck list, guys. Again, we did go undefeated this week, so we do have 4 games in store, but let's get right into those. And getting into our first match here, we're going to be going against a red and purple Law, which I think is not the hardest matchup in the world for Ivankov. Ivankov has always been pretty good against more aggro-based decks, like even Zoro back in OPO2. Ivankov was one of the decks that could really keep up because you can pretty much counter out of every swing because you do not care about going down to 0 cards in hand. So you'll be at very high life, which also makes their Kid and Killers not really go online very often. But we're going to be going first. I think we actually ended up winning Dice Roll. Colin's going to play Buggy onto board here, looking at the top 5, and that was actually a whiff. So, whiff off the bat. And from what I understand, especially after we looked at the deck list, I think the chances of whiffing a Buggy and not seeing an Info Down card are extremely low. But on our 3-down turn, we're going to swing 5. He's going to actually counter out with a Queen. I don't think you should really be countering out early with Law. I think you probably want to take... The only reason I think you would is just because to play around Pudding, we are playing against blue, so that is a bit of a scary option, and that's probably what opponent was thinking. But yeah, we did play the 3-cost Doflamingo and ordered the top 5 at the top, which is always good. Just knowing what our next few turns are going to be is really good, especially on Ivankov. Opponent is going to play a Reiju here, bit of a brain fart. Because obviously not at less Dawn than us right now. Opponent at 4 Dawn and we're at 3 Dawn. So Reiju effect actually does not activate. Major misplay for sure. And I think Colin was telling me he did not want to take it back. It was his mistake. So he's just going to go 5 at lead. We'll give him a 2K Kaya. And he will just pass to us as there is nothing we really care about bottom decking right now. So we'll go 5 to lead. He will take that one. And we'll just simply follow it up with a 7K Crocodile. Crocodile, as we said in the deck list portion, is very good in this matchup because it requires 2 Gordons or like a minus 2K Otama plus Gordon, which is a lot of resources just to perfectly get rid of a 7K. But he's actually going to spend all of his 6 Dawn on a Shiraya plus a Zoro Juro. All those alt arts are looking absolutely fantastic. He'll go 5. We'll actually take the first 5 and counter out of the second 5 and chooses not to use leader effect once again. At this point, I guess you're only bottom decking Buggy, so it is not too good. So we'll go 5 at Reiju. Knowing there's more swings incoming, he's probably just going to take that into trash. Now we'll go 7K lead. This requires 2 cards, so we're definitely going to take that down to 2 life. And we do have the Ivankov into Inazuma combo. And with 2 cards in hand, Inazuma will be drawing us up to 4 here. So pretty much, no joke, getting the perfect 1-3-5-7 curve. Like, if you're going to get a curve, this is pretty much the curve you want to see.
all on board. Buggy, Doflamingo, Crocodile, Ivankov into Inazuma. And we got exactly what we wanted. So he's going to play another Zoro as well as a Captain Kid. We'll swing with the Zoro just to ramp that one Dawn as active. Thinking about how to counter out here. He's actually going to play an Otama onto the blocker here to minus it, and play a Bon Clay off of leader effect, ramping one, and just going to put that one down on lead and swing 6. We'll give him another 2k. Could swing with Shiraya here, but it's a bit risky, especially with 2 life, and I don't think we have a lot of cards in hand either. That Reiju play really screwed this RP Law player over. So now on 9 Dawn, going to drop 7 to bottom deck, probably both of the blockers here. Yeah, that is a fantastic play, because at this point you have a lot of large swings incoming, and there's really no way you're countering out of them. So we'll go 5k into Zoro, knowing that we might be able to win this turn, but it's probably just safer to go for board. So we'll go 7. He'll take counter out of the next 7, and then take the last 7 as we spend one more Dawn, for a Perona here, looking at the top 5 and confirming the 2 cards we're going to draw into with this Inazuma effect, as we actually do new Kama land first, just trashing that Luffy, and then activating Inazuma effect, drawing 2 more for 3 cards in hand. Now our Law player with only a couple cards in hand, Zoro on board, and we're still at 4 life. Really not a scenario where you're winning this game as RP Law. Unfortunately, you do have the Bon Clay on board, which is, technically a 7k in this board state. But with 3 cards in hand, and 2 of which we knew we were drawing into, I realistically don't know if there's any chance of even clearing the board. But he's going to go ahead and play an RP Law, a 4-cost Law into a Gordon, bringing that Inazuma down to a 2k power character. And just going to bottom deck that there. After that, a 1k I think is what we bring it down to there. Or no, it is 2k, excuse me. And going to bottom deck it with leader effect and not play anything from hand. So going to swing a 7k to a 7k here. We'll just give him a 1k counter. And with our remaining Dawn here, we actually put 2 on lead, swing 7k to 7k once again. There is another 1k counter. There's really no scenario we were really having, or not having counter here, excuse me. I think he actually forgot to ramp with that Zoro. So now back onto Ivankov here. 1 card in hand and no life and no blockers. That is just going to be a complete wrap. Definitely a pretty seamless first game. Obviously, we did get the perfect curve, but opponent probably a bit inexperienced. Made a few huge misplays that definitely cost them the game. But let's go ahead and get straight into round 2. And getting into our round 2 here, we're actually going to be going against blue and purple Reiju. Surprisingly, not a deck you actually see a lot more. I guess not surprising considering RP Law is pretty much at the top of the meta nowadays, because Reiju cannot beat that deck whatsoever. But still, I think a good deck if you're not playing against RP Law, right? Like, this is a very competitive deck still. Unfortunately, the meta just does not, do it any good. So we're actually going to get first again here. I'm not sure if we won dice roll or not, but we're actually going to grab a 7-cost Ivankov with the buggy on 1 once again. So Reiju here going to use the Germa 66 event, probably looking for the stage if we don't already have it, but I think I just saw in hand that we already did. So adding Ichiji to hand and then playing that stage 4-1 and activating, looking at the top 3. And going to grab Reiju, putting that to hand here. I think he actually forgot to trash a card with stage right there. Bit of a misplay. Going to swing 5 and 5 and going to take 1 and give a 2k for the other one here. Now on 4 Dawn for Reiju side, we can actually play a 4-cost Ichiji. Oh, he realized he didn't trash it with stage last turn, so he's actually going to trash it now. Good, all good there. Excuse me. Definitely want to uphold the integrity of the game. And then we're going to play a 4-cost Ichiji into the 7-cost, and that is going to be that. I'm going to trash the stage with stage and grab another 4-cost Ichiji. So really solid start for Reiju here. probably one of the best starts you can see. Maybe you'd rather see a Reiju in this matchup, but we're actually going to, on our turn, swing 5 and then play a 5-7 Crocodile. He'll counter out with a 2K Kaya, but really not a turn to write home about. And Crocodile, a really good card in this matchup because there is pretty much no removal for Reiju unless you're running Black Bug, which I did run in my build, but I don't think a lot of Reijus choose to run it nowadays. So Reiju now on 6 Dawn will activate Stage, trashing the 2-cost Reiju here. Going to grab another 7-cost Ichiji. And from here, I would assume we are just, swinging 6 and then swinging double 7. So he'll go 7. We'll counter out of actually both the 6 and the 7. And then I'm going to play another Ichiji onto board here, drawing 1 and swinging 7 there. So taking that one down to 3. We actually have a lot of cards in hand, so unfortunately not really close to getting leader effect off. But now on 7 Dawn, we would really like to see an Ivankov into an Inazuma here. So we'll go 7k into Ichiji after we go 5k into lead. And then we do actually get the Ivankov into a Luffy this time around. Beautiful alt arts. Just going to say that. That Luffy alt art is really sick. I think that artist does a lot of really good alt arts because every single one's a banger. But Reiju now on, I think we did 2 Dawn minuses, so we might be on 6 Dawn once again. We'll do Stage here. I'm trashing the 3-cost Niji. Grabbing another 7-cost Ichiji. Wow. I'm sensing a trend here on Reiju's side. Now just choosing how to allocate our Dawn here. We actually have another 4-cost Ichiji right now. We will actually activate that, drawing 1 and playing out the 7-cost from hand since we do not have one in trash. So subtracting the Crocodile down to a 5k, this is going to be really easy to remove now. As we do, I think, only have 3 cards in hand, so going to be hard to counter it out, but we're actually going to make it a little bit harder for him to take it, and we're going to make sure we counter out of the 5k, so the rest of the swings we do not have to counter out of. Now going down to 2 after a 7k and an 8k though, so Reiju going to do one last Dawn for the Germa 66 event, looking at the top 5 of the deck, and finally grabbing a 4-cost Reiju. So now going to be really hard to beat this Reiju player because our board is really not that strong. We do know they only have 3 cards in hand with a 1k included. So there is a scenario where we might even be able to go for game, but looks like we're going to go for a board right now. Swing 7k into this Ichiji. 9k into the Ichiji. Another 9k into the other Ichiji. He'll give a 2 and a 1. And then another 7 into the other one. Most likely meaning that the last card is a brick considering he did not counter out. And with our remaining 3 Dawn, we will play a Don Quixote do Flamingo. Looking at the top 5, unfortunately, we do not have any effects online, so we don't get to draw those cards just yet. As we do, I think, have 3 or 4 cards in hand still. But with a blocker up, can't really deal with it unless he has the Niji 3-cost into the Niji 5-cost. Or even just playing the 5-cost raw, but I think at that point we definitely don't die considering we have... that's actually 5 cards in hand. So, Reiju player now choosing how to allocate Dawn here. Trash the Reiju last turn, and with only 2 cards in hand, you really want to see the 2-cost if you don't have it already. Because just obviously want to replenish the hand. And he actually does run the Black Bug. And going to bottom deck the Doflamingo and go 7k into lead. We'll give a 2 and a 1 here. Going 8, and we will take the 8. This game, very interesting, because we actually never got leader effect off. But now at this point, Reiju has 1 card in hand. So we might just, we'll choose to use Luffy here. Giving him double attack on attack and taking 2 of those life guaranteed as he only had 1 card in hand. And at this point, both of these swings need to connect. We do have all 10 Dawn available, so we can actually put 4 on here and go 11k, followed by another 11k with a 6 on lead. And it looks like we didn't even really have any 2ks in hand. That is going to be the game. Very interesting game for sure. We actually never even got to use leader effect. Luffy there showing, though, why we are running this card, because it is good in a lot of situations. And getting into our 3rd match here, going against another RP Law player here. I think Colin actually got down paired right now into this RP Law player. He is 2-0 and this player is 1-1. But we're actually going to be going first again, getting the buggy on turn 1 again, and grabbing an Ivankov pretty much same turn as we did on our first turn last game. RP Law player here actually just going to pass on 2. Doesn't look like he actually had anything to play. So now on 3, we'll play a buggy looking at the top 5. Probably wanting to grab an Inazuma if we don't already have it in hand. But we're actually going to choose to grab a 2K, which is obviously always good. And then we'll attach the remaining 2 to leader and swing 7. That is a no-brainer take for sure. Obviously opening yourself up to a 4-cost pudding a little bit if you do not get a lot of cards out of hand here, but not really too big of a deal because putting at as a body herself really doesn't make that big of an impact. Only really making a huge impact if we're trashing like more than 3 cards from hand. But now on 4 Dawn, we only have buggies to bottom deck, so not really a lot to think about here. He's actually going to spend 4 for the Law. Looks like he actually only tapped 3 on accident, but he's actually going to put all of those back and bottom deck one of the buggies, playing out the Bonclay, Mr. 2. Yeah, pointing out here that he forgot to rest that last on. Completely no big deal. And then probably, yeah, just going to be a 6K swing here as we give the 2K Kaya. Now on 5 Dawn here, usually always going to be our best play being the Crocodile, considering it is so hard to remove in this matchup. So giving us a 1K from the 5K swing, and there it is, the beautiful participant Crocodile in the regional tournament. That alt art is really great, really cool. They gave a vanilla on alt art because that's definitely a very rare card to ever have a vanilla. But Ivankov does run it frequently, so glad we got a vanilla in our deck. Or an alt art for the vanilla in our deck. So now on 4 Dawn here, gonna swing most likely, yeah, 7K with the Bonclay. That is gonna be a take. Tapping 2 for double Gordon. That is what we were talking about because that is really the only way to remove Croc. Unfortunately, just making it really awkward to remove the 7Ks off the board. So we'll just attach 2, going 7K to leader once again. We'll counter out of that as he actually uses leader effect and plays down a Beppo on the board, bottom decking the Crocodile. And now only sitting on 2 Dawn once again, so RP Law really not keeping up in Dawn here. We'll actually swing 2K at the Bonclay. We'll actually block with the Law, which I think is a really good play, and swing 5K into the Bonclay. We really want that off board as we are now playing down 2 7Ks with the Ivankov into Inazuma combo once again. Unfortunately, though, 3 cards in hand, which means we cannot activate Inazuma effect. No big deal at this point. We still have 4 life. We're not really in any situation where we're going to die this turn. And RP Law only at 4 Dawn and 4 cards in hand, which really means there is no scenario on this earth where this game is ending anytime soon. I'd say your strongest play right now, again, we'd have 2 7Ks on board, so you would have to give us 2 cards out of hand to even remove one. That's what is just so rough about these 7K attackers, which is why I think this might be a good matchup in the RP Law. But he'll actually go 7K to lead, and then another 6K to lead, ramping 1. We'll take the 7K and counter out of the 6 as actually not going to choose to use leader effect. Just going to keep the raise max on board as he knows Ivankov really does not have that much removal, especially for small bodies. But we'll go 7K in a Beppo. You really don't want to counter out of that going down to 1 card in hand. That's just not a play you want to do. So we'll actually play the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger and showing him we actually do have the removal. Obviously a lot of overkill for a 1 cost, but I think worth our while for sure, especially considering he just drew an Otama, which means he would have been able to bottom deck the Inazuma. And then following up with a 6K, he'll give us the 2K Buena Festa. And then playing out the Kaya here, just getting ourselves down to 2 cards in hand so we can draw 2 more with the Inazuma. So Kaya really, really coming in clutch there because if we did not have a 1-cost card, we would not have been able to get off our Inazuma effect. Also, while we run Perona, the really cheap 1-drops that actually do strong effects on play are really good in this deck because you want to get cards on hand, and the cheaper ones obviously are going to make that easier to do. But opponent is going to, looks like they're going to play a 5-cost kid and attach 2 to lead, swinging 7 most likely into leader. I don't think it's worth swinging at the 7K. So we'll give a 2 and a 1. It looks like we have a Shachi Penguin in hand, a Kid and Killer, which we probably wanted to play, but at this point it's only swinging for 5. So probably not actually going to use leader effect and just going to keep cards in hand. We could actually try to go for a game this turn, but he does have a blocker kit up, so that would be very difficult. But looks like that is going to be our only play. Going to put 4 on Buggy, swinging 6. Just a little bit of a 2K check. Honestly, if we were going for that, I probably would have swung 6 with lead first. I'm going to give the Otama, showing we do have the 2Ks here. And then 7K with Ivankov, going to take that to hand, followed by a 7K with Inazuma. Gonna block with Kid and accidentally give a 1K instead of a 2K. Opponent actually gonna accept that. I don't think he wanted to take it back, so we'll go 7K again with lead. We do not have the counter, so RP Law will be taking this one. Down to 1 life, and there is no scenario where you can really even make a difference next turn. I'm gonna spend our last Dawn, one of our last 4 Dawn on Buggy here, looking at the top 5 cards. Gonna grab a 7-cost Ivankov, which is a little bit late for that, but not too big of a deal. Spending 3 on the Don Quixote del Flamingo blocker, meaning you can't even really take out anything on our board. And now we know these 2 cards we're drawing off Inazuma effect. So pretty much a wrap, not gonna lie. 2 7Ks, a blocker, no life, only 4 cards in hand. Not really a situation that RP Law can win. So gonna play the Otama and the Kid for 6 Dawn, bringing down most likely the Inazuma down to 5. And at this point, you can use leader effect and like swing with the Kid and Killer. But even if we had no counter in hand, we can just go for game next turn. So gonna actually swing 8. We'll just block with the Doflamingo. And yeah, gonna actually use leader effect here. -3, bottom decking one of the Buggies. And then most likely gonna play out the Kid and Killer, or maybe keeping it in hand to feign that we have as much counter as possible. We're gonna play the Shachi Penguin out instead. I guess knowing the game's over, it really doesn't make a difference. Because obviously 2 7Ks and a leader with 1 card in hand and no life just means you can literally swing 5K 3 times and this game's over. But yeah, gonna block the 7K with the Kid, rest on Inazuma. That is going to be it. So beating another RP Law, not super familiar with Ivankov, but maybe a winning matchup. And getting into our final match here, going to be going against Edward Newgate himself, and going first once again. I think Newgate wants to go second anyway, so probably dice roll probably didn't matter in this situation. So going to do the Perona on turn 1, our first game where we didn't get turn 1 Buggy, as our opponent is going to play the, blanking on the name, Izo here, looking at the top 5 and grabbing a 9-cost Newgate. If we do have another Izo, we can actually spend another 1 Dawn here, which we do. Double Izo on turn 1, obviously our best play as Edward Newgate. Looking at the top 5 once again, probably wanting to find like a 4-cost Marco or even a 5-cost Marco, which there it is, grabbing it to hand and passing back to us. Now in our final match here, we are on a 3 Dawn, playing out the Don Quixote del Flamingo once again. We actually knew what 4 of those 5 cards are, so now we're actually going to organize them in a way that we can draw what we need to draw when we need to draw it. And now passing back to Newgate on 4 Dawn. And 4 Dawn, probably just wanting to play maybe a Marco. Not a lot of great plays for Newgate, but yeah, just gonna go 7 and 5, which we will actually block and counter out of the other one. Wanting to get down low on cards as much as we can with Ivankov, so you usually always want to counter out early if you could not tell by now. We'll actually swing 2 into the Izo and then actually swing 4 on lead, going 9 into Edward Newgate. Most likely going to take this, but actually decides to give 2 2Ks. I think you're always supposed to take that. I could be wrong. I'm no Newgate player, but playing a Buggy here and grabbing a 7-cost Ivankov for next turn, pretty much guaranteeing we have the Ivankov and Inazuma here. And now on 6 Dawn for our Newgate player. Probably best play here is going to be Marco popping the Buggy, getting a decent body on board. So we'll just swing at 2K with Izo into our Perona, and then 7K with lead, or we will actually choose to take that. And then probably just going to be 5 Dawn for the Marco here, popping the Buggy. There it is. Buggy is popped, and passing back to us on 7 Dawn as we take a life down to 3. Now at 7 Dawn, you did see the Ivankov, so we'll actually swing 5k into Izo, as we're going to use all our Dawn here for Ivankov into Inazuma. I think we've done this just about every game. So yeah, as you can see, very strong play. This is always going to be our favorite play on 7 Dawn. Question is, can we get it? Thankfully, most of these games we have been able to. So Newgate now on 8. We cannot play a 9-cost Newgate just yet, so we'll swing 6k twice, giving 2 2ks for that as we swing 5k, giving another buggy, not caring about going low on cards with this deck, as he just plays a Marco for the body and passes to Ivankov. Now, with 9 Dawn, if we do have the 7-cost event here, bottom decking both these Marcos would be really big, as we just chip cards at hand with a 6k swing, a 7k swing, asking for a 2k here, which opponent is thinking about and going to give the Jozu, and another 7k swing, going to actually choose to take. Looks like we got the kick course from life, but not going to choose to activate that trigger, as it does not do anything in this situation. And then following up with the Gravity Blade and the 1-cost Buggy, going down to 0 cards. Oh no, sorry. Actually going down to 1 card in hand. Grabbing the Ivankov here. I almost want to say you might have wanted to play Buggy and then not grabbed anything, as it does ensure you draw 4 cards instead of going up to 3 cards, but probably grabbing the Ivankov for next turn might be smarter. So he'll actually play the 9-cost Newgate on his 10 Dawn turn, bring his leader up to 8k, and then swinging into most likely the Inazuma here. No, that's actually going to be lead, and we'll actually give 2 2ks for the 8k swing into lead, as Newgate leaves 1 Dawn up, as our board is pretty scary. So you want to play as defensive as possible in these situations. We'll go 8k to 8k, putting 1 Dawn on Ivankov. Demanding a 1k, just trying to chip these cards out of hand once again. He'll actually give us the 1k Nico Robin, as we put 2 on Inazuma, swinging 9k into 8k. So another 2k will be required, as he gives us the Makino. And then we'll play the 7-cost Ivankov that we drew off the Buggy, playing out another Inazuma, and drawing 2 with Inazuma effect. Obviously, does not really make a difference that we got the Inazuma here, because only one Inazuma effect can go off. At least when you're in Ivankov. If we were at another deck and we were at 0 cards, both of them could draw you to 4, but we already have leader effect, so 2 is a bit redundant. So he's actually swinging to 1. We'll definitely give him that. We do not need 2. And then we'll swing 6 at lead, giving another 2k here. 14 2ks does come in really big handy, as he finally gets the blocker down. Definitely very important, going down to 0 life this next turn. And with the remaining 6 Dawn, I guess double blocker would be good, but we're actually going to go for Kid and Killer, swinging 5 at lead, as we get the trigger with the Gravity Blade and bottom deck the Marco. That was an insane trigger, and probably the best trigger we can see in this situation. However, I don't even know if it would have made a difference. I think our board is just a bit too scary, so we're going to play it safe here, swing 5k into the Kid and Killer. There's no way you can give that, because you just make it way riskier that we can now win this turn. So we'll actually go 8k into lead. So you either need to give us the event. Yeah, he'll give us the event, 0 cost plus 3. Another 8k into lead. This is a 2k and a 1k, or yeah, another guard point here. Thinking about the cards in hand, I think Newgate player only has 2 cards in hand. So even if we have Rad Beam 2k, we can only go up to 12. So right here, that is going to win us the game. And that is going to be the video, ladies and gentlemen. Again, big shout out to Colin for letting us record his games this week. And big shout out to him for winning all 4 matches as well. Definitely showing you the strength of this Ivankov deck. Obviously, I don't think this deck is tier 1 or anything like that, but it's definitely a deck that can high roll you very crazy. As you saw in most of these games, we got perfect curve almost every game. I think we went first every game, and then on 7 Dawn, always dropping Ivankov into either an Inazuma or a Luffy. When Ivankov high rolls you, I don't care what deck you are, it's going to be hard for you to win. This deck does kind of suffer inconsistency issues when you don't see what you want to see. Obviously, when you get staging on board, you're a bit more consistent, and you do have the Peronas and Dofis, but if you do not see your cards on curve, it does become a bit awkward, as you can get a lot of cards in hand and never be able to use leader effect. But thankfully, drawing what we need to see in these games this week and showing you the power that Ivankov has, taking out meta decks like Newgate and even RP Law. But thank you guys for voting for Ivankov. Definitely a very fun deck to watch for sure. And I hope you enjoyed the gameplay and can take a little bit from the video, maybe even play the deck yourself. I think for our poll going into next week, right now, Red-Green Law is actually winning, which in a Sakazuki-less meta is, I think, one of the better decks. Definitely tier 2. New cards in EB like Cavendish and stuff definitely buff that deck a lot. So look forward to our Red-Green Law gameplay next week, and hopefully we can take out another W. But that is going to be the video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Jim with Awakened TCG, and I'm going to head out of here. Peace.